With Bicol Saro Party-List Representative Terry Ridon, who joins us on the program this morning. Good morning, Kong. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Pauline. Thank you for having me.
All right, Kong Terry. Well, in a statement, you said that the resignation of Secretary Singson from the ICI as commissioner is a serious setback. Tell us why and what are the implications of his departure from the commission?
Well, I think he was the one that had institutional memory, had insider access, and he had basically known all the goings on in the DPWH as a former secretary for 6 years. No? So I think he would be the one most capable to basically identify the gaps and all of the corrupt practices that had been undertaken by his former colleagues in the agency. Which is why it is very important for the president to appoint his replacement, who is someone that has the same skill set, who basically can understand the goings on in the DPWH and basically can also expose all of the corrupt practices of DPWH officials and personnel.
Kong Terry, would you also say that the fact-finding work now of the ICI is vulnerable following the departure of one of its most technical members? As you mentioned, Secretary Singson has institutional knowledge. He knows the ins and outs of the DPWH.
Well, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but I think it will be dependent on who the replacement will be, because I think if you would see the composition of the ICI, you have a former justice, you have an accountant, you have a former police general there, but I think what would be sorely lacking if Mr. Singson actually leaves would be the technical experience and the technical understanding of how engineering works actually are undertaken. So I think for as long as the president appoints, for example, engineering design experts, those who can actually make a determination on whether or not engineering works are actually substandard or actually well-made, I think that would spell whether or not there will be actual continuity on the work of Secretary Singson.
That's actually what I wanted to ask you next, Congressman. Is there anyone who actually has the same level of expertise as Secretary Singson, who is capable of stepping into that role of commissioner in the ICI? I mean, realistically, who fits that profile that we're looking for?
Well, obviously, there is a bench of private sector engineers and experts that the president can tap. There are also former DPWH secretaries whom the president can also tap, like former Secretary Ping De Jesus. I think he's someone that has the same level of integrity and competence as Secretary Singson. But of course, we leave it to the president as to who it actually will be. But again, the president can most definitely tap into the private sector, the bench of engineers from the private sector.
Per Congressman, kayo po ba ay nagulat din sa departure, sa resignation ni Secretary Singson? Because you also have Congressman Erisa saying he already had a couple of text messages with Secretary Singson where he allegedly expressed his frustrations with the lack of powers of the ICI.
Well, of course, we would want to get these types of information from Secretary Singson himself, because I think from what we had been gathering for the last 2 days, it's just his friends or contacts who have been basically speaking his mind for him. So you have like Congressman Erisa and other people basically communicating his state of mind. But obviously, he hasn't made any statements as yet as to the reason for his resignation. So I think we will leave it to him, out of respect to him, as to the real reasons why he is departing. But of course, you are correct that syempre talagang nakakalungkot na he will be leaving at the ICI at this particular moment, na talaga naman pong marami na pong mga naisasalang at mga nare-refer pong mga kaso sa ombudsman.
Well, Secretary Singson did cite health reasons for his departure. But I wanted to go back to your statement, Kong Terry. You also warned about possible due process overreach in the ICI's joint referral with the DPWH against alleged congressman contractors, or yung tinatawag po nga natin na contractors. Help us understand, Congressman, why you think that's an overreach in due process.
Well, ang totoo, in any deliberative body, like the House Infrastructure Committee, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, I think it's a bit difficult to make referrals or make recommendations without actually speaking to particular personalities that are involved. No? So we would not do it in the House. No? Kaya it's a bit of a concern that you had like alleged congressmen contractors that had been referred by the ICI itself together with the DPWH without actually them being interviewed by the ICI. No? I think former Senator Bong Revilla had also complained about this fact as well, that a referral was made without him being interviewed by the ICI. I don't have a debate that the DPWH could make a direct referral to the Ombudsman without actually talking to any of them. But I think a distinction needs to be made with deliberative bodies like the ICI. Kasi syempre, supposedly, it's a fact-finding body. So if it's a fact-finding body, dapat lahat po ng panig ay nakakausap po natin. No? So I think that's something that they have to be mindful about moving forward. No? Kasi syempre, if you actually make a referral, that is, I guess, a bit short of actually accusing these persons, no? These personalities, na talagang sangkot po sila sa flood control scam, flood control corruption.
But Kong Terry, one might also ask, why is it still important for them to face the ICI if there's already evidence pointing to their alleged involvement at harapin na lang nila ito sa proper venue, which in this case could be the Ombudsman?
Well, supposedly kasi yung ICI nga, like what we had stated, deliberative bodies po ito. No? So ibig sabihin, they have to be able to look at the entire body of evidence, including giving an opportunity to those accused personalities as to whether or not they are involved. No? So, ibig sabihin, dapat yun yung maging basis of any referral by the ICI. Kasi, hindi naman po ito DPWH that they actually have the wealth of the documents and they actually can, in fact, make the call that these guys are actually involved. Or, for example, they're not the AMLC, the Anti-Money Laundering Council, na on its face, they can actually see na meron ho talagang paper trail doon sa mga documentation relating to involved personalities in the flood control corruption. The ICI was basically created to deliberate on all of these information. So, the information that had been a bit missing would be information coming from the accused personalities. No? So, kumbaga, magkakaiba ho yung mga roles at papel. Ito po mga opisina po na ito. And supposedly, yung ICI, talagang lahat ng panig, basically, it should have been akin to a congressional proceeding like in the House or in the Senate. Na, hindi, pagka napangalanan ka, punta ka dito, magpaliwanag ka.
But Congressman, at the same time, the ICI is clear na no member of Congress can have a direct or indirect interest in government contracts, and that's what they found with these so-called contractors. So on the part na lang po of the House, can we expect Congress to actually investigate its own members?
Ang inaantay ho natin yung mga ethics complaint, no? Kasi syempre you have like several lawmakers also making accusations against each other. No? So particularly against Congressman Garjola is being accused of being a congressman contractor by a particular congressman. No? So ang inaantay ho natin dito, any personality, any congressman, any citizen can actually file an ethics complaint against any member of Congress, and I'm quite certain the committee will have to look into it as well.
But Congressman, when it comes to this culture of contracting and itong mga congressmen contractors, and conflicts of interest, how do we tighten the gaps there? Do you agree that there needs to be tighter disclosure measures, stronger disclosure rules, stricter protocols when it comes to disclosing your business interests in the House?
Well, you have, I think you have new legislation today that the conflict of interest should not just cover the member itself, the House member itself, or the senator himself, no? But it should also include yung pong mga kamag-anak niya, asawa niya, anak niya, tatay niya, magulang niya, no? So I think that should be an actual amendment kasi like what we had been seeing, ang sinasabi nga parang nagiging dami lang po yung ilan po sa mga contracting companies, pero ultimately it would still be a House member or a senator or legislator or a government official that are basically calling the shots, no, in a contracting firm, no? So I think that's something that we really have to look into. New legislation is actually needed for this.
Kasi ang nangyayari rin, Kong Terry, is that nagda-divest lang itong mga lawmakers, mga politiko from the business. So you can't really find them in any of the documents of the business, but they're also beneficiary owners. So yun talaga po din yung gap na kailangan ayusin. But shifting to a different topic, Kong Terry, with the ICI, you said that they should also impose stricter rules when it comes to executive sessions. Yesterday, we saw Congressman Roman Romulo asking for that executive session, citing threats to his safety, his life, and potential damage to his reputation. Was the ICI correct in granting that request?
Well, I don't want to talk about specific individuals that had asked for an executive session, but I think as a general principle, executive sessions, for example, in Congress or in the Senate are basically just limited to testimony relating to national security questions and to state secrets, no? So I think it is my hope, and I guess it's the public's hope also, that executive session should be limited to that only, no? So kumbaga wala naman hong walang threats to life or to liberty or to the safety of families or personalities, no, when we actually make testimonies. It's something that will happen whether or not you do it in the ICI, whether you do it in the Ombudsman, or whether you do it in any of the congressional hearings, no? So I think yung ICI should a little bit be more strict on imposing executive session rules and should limit it only to like what I stated, national security and state secrets.
Do you agree, Congressman Terry, with the sentiment of Kong Egay Erice that the ICI is dead following the resignation of Secretary Babes Singson? Or are you still optimistic that the Commission can function credibly and investigate this corruption scandal?
Well, I think it's a bit of such a very cynical view of how the ICI is, no? Kasi hindi lang naman ho si Secretary Singson po yung nagbubuhat nito pong commission po na ito, no? So I think you have several other members that are part of it that are basically of such integrity and competence as well, no? So I think for as long as the president is able to make a determination that you can have another commissioner who has the same skill set, tingin ko magtutuloy naman po yung trabaho nito pong ICI.
But do you agree also, Kong Terry, that the ICI needs more powers? I ask that because Congressman Laila de Lima has this feeling na it's the bill that they're proposing, the ICAIC bill, is being held back in Congress despite initial signals that it would be prioritized and fast-tracked. But now she says medyo nade-delay, parang nagde-dribble, and now it's stuck at the Appropriations Committee level, and there are only a few session days left for this year before Congress goes on break. What's happening there, Congressman? Meron bang resistance inside the House of Representatives for this bill?
I don't think there's any debate that this bill should in fact be prioritized at the level of the Senate. I think that's something that is being prioritized in the House. I don't think the Speaker ever had any indication that they would want to, like what you stated, i-dribble lang po yung legislation po na ito. Kasi nga, I think it's something that has top-level commitment, no? Na kailangan po talaga that any ICI in the future should actually have, firstly, contempt powers, and secondly, they need to be able to have subpoena powers para ho this commission can actually conduct itself more credibly compared to what we have today, no? So I think kailangan lang ho talaga, we just need to let legislation work. the way it should. No? So we have to be able to follow up with the appropriate committee kung dyan mo medyo bumabagal po yung proseso.
So it's not being held back as what some lawmakers sense, Congressman.
I don't think so. Kasi if you say na it's being held back, dapat ko meron po talagang outward signals that is it is actually being delayed. And I'm quite certain, the credibility of the president's flood control, anti-flood control corruption push is basically dependent on having a very credible ICI and for a future ICI to actually have greater powers. No? So if you believe in that entire principle, I think there is absolutely no reason for the Senate or for Congress to actually hold back any of these proceedings.
All right, well, we're going to leave that conversation there for now. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us this morning. That was Bicol Saro Party-List Representative Terry Ridon. Thanks, Kong.
Good morning. Thank you.